Let's talk a little bit now about those tables and how you actually use them to depreciate in the modified accelerated cost recovery system. Now, you've already seen that the IRS puts you in a couple of different categories, and these are the non-real estate categories, and you notice that there's some assets that last 3 years, some last 5, some last 7, and so on down the line. And each one of these is a declining balance methodology of some kind, either double declining or time and a half balance. And there's a couple of features that are built into this. Now, the way you use the tables is you simply take the cost basis of the asset, that's how much you paid for it, and multiply it by the certain percentage that's right here, and that's how much depreciation, which percentage of the cost basis you take as depreciation each year. So, for example, focusing in on this 5-year asset, say you buy yourself something like a $10,000 car. Car is a 5-year asset. The first year that you own the asset, you will take 20% of the cost basis of the car as depreciation. So it's a $10,000 car, you take 20% of it, $2,000 as depreciation. The second year you own the car, you take 32% of the cost basis as depreciation. So in the case of this $10,000 car, you're taking $3,200, and so on down the line. So it's really easy. You don't have to go through that complicated process that you saw with the double declining balance of finding out what your book value was, multiplying that by 1 on the life of the asset, and so on down the line. It's all been done for you. Now, the reason why that you're able to do that is because of that assumption in that modified accelerated cost recovery system that the salvage value is 0. And you can see that it's built in because if you add up all these values, you're going to find out that you fully depreciate. You bring the value of the asset all the way down to 0 over the life. And that's how that salvage value of 0 is embedded in the tables. Now, the other thing that's kind of strange is that there's all that stuff about half-year conventions, and this is actually the table for half-year convention on these assets. Well, what happens is that the half years are in here. So that first year you own the asset, you get less depreciation than the second year you own the asset. And that's because that first year is assumed to be just a half year. And you also have this final year over here, which is also a half a year. So if you're looking at a 5-year asset, you see it actually depreciates over 6 years because you have half a year here, full year, full year, full year, full year, and then there's the other half a year. So the asset lasts 5 years, but it's aliased out over 6 years. And that's true for all these down here. The 3-year asset depreciates over 4, the 7-year asset depreciates over 8, and so on down the line. Now, what's also done in the tables for you so that you don't have to do it is that nasty transition that the declining balance methods have to go through to straight line depreciation in order to get you down to your salvage value. So you notice for 5-year depreciation, it hits a certain level, and then suddenly it's the same. And this 5.76% is actually half, 11.52. So it transitions to straight line depreciation at the right time. Same thing over here. Here's a transition to straight line depreciation. And here's a transition to straight line depreciation. This is just bouncing back and forth in order to make it so it actually adds up to 1. And here you see a transition to straight line depreciation too. So it's all taken care of. Finding out what depreciation is in any given year is so simple with the modified accelerated cost recovery system. You simply find out what asset class you're dealing with, find out which year of depreciation you're in, and you multiply that number in the table by the cost basis of the asset.